remember us? Robert and me? Remember the studio? This is where you ran away, remember? And you didn't only run away, you decided to cancel a show with Jackson Wheat that you had the day after that, and a few days after that, you posted that you would never go on an atheist channel
Hello.
ever again. We
Thank you.
made
It's
that
good to be
happen.
here, although I
We
am
scared
scared.
you, didn't we, Robert? I mean, must have been.
Absolutely. We you ran, and Matt, I still remember it was right before the kickoff of the show. You asked me and Peter, "Hey, are either one of you homos?" Now, not only was that totally irrelevant, I
Yeah, I'm
remember
nervous.
asking you, "Do you know what a bear is?" And the first thing you did was talk about what's in the zoo. And I told you what a bear was, and I still strongly suggest stop asking random, enormous, muscular men, are they homos? It may not work out well for you.
Nope, it might not. What also wouldn't work out well for you is, remember Bree, the one that you tried to mock in one of your videos? Bree isn't phased. In fact, Bree, and if you don't remember her, this is Bree. She wants to debate you on the
Hello,
science
Bree.
of trends. And trust me, Matt, she is going to demolish you. And so, in the meantime,
Absolutely.
what you can do is look up what a beard is, because I think we both know where you're coming from, right? Uh,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
if you want to debate Bree, you can come on our channel. If you want to debate Robert, because he's more than happy to
Oh,
debate you as well, and
Hear
you still
me.
have the
Can you
option
hear me
to
better
debate on
now?
our channel. So that's
I always have to start my show with audio issues, Emma. I'm sorry.
I do as well. Don't worry
Yeah.
about it. Every
If
time
I
I stream
start
with you, I
myself,
do it wrong.
yeah, if I start myself off muted, then it's yeah. Can you hear me now? Hopefully it's better. I can see my bar jumping, so hopefully that sounds a little bit better. Good morning, good morning to people in the U.S. and again good afternoon to people over on the other side of the pond where Emma is. So we are going to be exploring the dredges of Conservapedia today. This will be and this will be a fun journey. And now I'm getting the echo on Emma, of course. Yes, better now. Oh, good, good. Okay, so everybody, I hope you are ready. I'm gonna go ahead and just get started, Emma. We're gonna start off right off on the main page here. So
Okay.
here we are. This is the hub page of Conservapedia. We have some fantastic topics to choose from here. We have some simple things that people may just be looking up, like Titanic, for instance, or chess. And then you get a little more what you'd expect from a conservative site. You get Genesis and some biblical stuff. You got some political figures on here too. That's to be expected. But you also get some nifty little gems like this. Do you see this one here? Overcoming sexuality or homosexuality.
Yeah.
Obamagate timeline.
Okay.
I want you to read this one. Do you see that?
What does it say? Trumpian gospel?
Trumpian gospel.
What
The
does that
gos-
mean?
Well,
No.
that sounds like a fantastic place to start, Emma.
Oh God.
Let's see. Trumpian gospel. Okay. It leads us to the Gospel of Mark. And even Trumpian style. Is Trumpian.
The writer of Mark is Trumpian, is Trump-esque. What is... No?
Yeah. The Gospel Mark is bold, irreverent account by an outsider, anti-establishment, and even Trumpian style eyewitness.
Slightly disagree with that. I don't think it's written... We don't know who wrote Mark, incidentally, but I don't think it was written by an outsider. I think it was written by a Jewish person for the Jewish people of the time. So that's an interesting take. I do think it's brilliant. So me and them both like Mark, at least. I really wouldn't call it Trumpian. I think it's too well written to just it's described as Trumpian.
I think I like John better. John's the one with the earthquake and zombies, right?
John's the very spiritual gospel.
Yes. That's the fun one for me. The more out there it gets for me, the better. It's like, oh yeah, that's why I always.
I like Mark because it's just like, there's no like birth story. He doesn't resurrect. It's just like, and Jesus was there, and he did some stuff, and it was dramatic, and then he died, and it's what happens next? Question mark. The end of the story, and it's like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
Mark is very straightforward, almost a historical account, right? You could almost say. I mean, there's people that obviously that are going to dispute the historicity of Christ,
kind of debatable. I think it's more of a. I mean, I'm biased because I just talked to Dr. Tabor about this, and he has the perspective of it as kind of a drama, and that has sort of influenced my take. I do think it's more of a sort of dramatic storytelling thing than particularly historical. I think it's really weird that they have like Trumpian gospel redirect to the Gospel of Mark, as if that's like, is that a thing in conservative circles that they talk about that? I've never. In
the U.S. there is a movement going on right now, evangelical movement. It's not like underground or anything, but it's definitely not mainstream. It's kind of fringe. But some of them are mega preachers that are aspiring to this. But mostly of what we would call big tent preachers in the U.S. That have these big events where they lay hands and stuff, and they have something of a Trumpian gospel to their views of current affairs, prophecy, and the Trump administration, and the biblical narrative. They tie it all together. Trump's story is a continuation. It's the New Testament to these folks, and they prophesize about God putting him back in power, and it's a vestige of the MAGA movement, which you're going to notice here on Conservapedia. There's a very U.S. bias. We're not going to find a lot of European politics stuff, other than to either compare and contrast to how much better the U.S. is or how much better white people are. That's what you're going to see, what Europe's going to be used for within the confines of these articles. It's going to compare the success of the U.S. to European nations, and then it's going to then it's also going to claim that we are successful because of our whiteness, while also disparaging the other nations that have as much whiteness, if not more, than we do. So they toe an odd line, and you'll see that, and you'll actually have different authors that disagree with each other on things like that. Let's go back to the main. We had opened this right before. Here's their section on Elon Musk. So let's get topical right away, because he ushered in an era of glasnost. I'm not sure what that term means. From globalist totalitarian control of social media platforms. So they're really singing this guy's praises right now.
He supports freedom of speech unless you work for him and disagree with him, and then you're fired.
Or if you tweet something about him that he doesn't like.
Freedom of speech.
Free speech absolutist, except when.
Except for if you want to.
And announced he'll end Twitter's ban on Donald Trump. He ended Twitter's ban on a lot of garbage people.
He ended the ban on Trump, which was kind of, I guess it was like a headline-making statement, but it was pointless because Trump hasn't and isn't going to come back to Twitter because he has his own rival social media company. It was a really sort of pointless thing, I thought. Yeah,
now he's like they're going to be vying for influence, Trump and Musk, because they're both running these. And obviously, Trump's is just a joke, right? All the social media platforms and stuff that Trump's tried to present has been Yeah. We had, we had Parlor, and then I don't remember the names of all of them, but there were, and he has his own like Office 45 thing, and yeah, Trump's trying to make his presence online something, and it's really, unless it's his specific fan base, he's not getting a general public following like you'd have on Twitter, Facebook, even something like Instagram is going to have more of a public following overall than Office 45.
Yeah.
Despite his good cheer towards liberals, they were quoted as boycotting Twitter after he purchased it. Joe Biden ranted against Musk at a fundraiser on November 4th, 2022. Now, what are we all worried about? Elon Musk goes out and buys an outfit that sends and spews lies all across the world. True, but you're not gonna, Joe Biden, you're not gonna stop that from
I wonder
from
why
Twitter.
that's in political leanings on Trump, because that's not Trump's political leanings. That's other people's views of Trump. Oh my God.
Musk, yeah, this is what other people are saying about him, right?
Yeah, weird. Very weird.
It does have some of his tweets, though. In the past, I voted Democrat because they were mostly the kindness party. But they have become the party of division and hate. So I can no longer support them, and I will vote Republican. Now watch their dirty tricks campaign against me unfold. So if you're against it, and I don't disagree that the Democratic Party is not a party of kindness. It's a party of compromise, maybe a little too much compromise. And but if you're opposing division and hate, and yes, they do put in some division and hate from the Democratic Party, but it's like pales in comparison to what you're going to get from the people that you're talking about hooking your horse up to today. All right, I'm gonna let you pick the next article since I picked those two.
Okay. Oh, I think it's going to be awful, but I'm interested in overcoming homosexuality.
All right, here we go.
It's going to looking at the article before anybody takes it out of context.
They're going to clip that, and you're going to be. Overcoming homosexuality is definitely possible for those who wish to abandon homosexuality, and many ex-homosexuals attest to this matter. Today, many report overcoming homosexuality and becoming heterosexual or celibate through their Christian faith and health activities.
I would argue that if you're becoming celibate, you're still homosexual.
Yeah.
You've not overcome it. You just stop sleeping with other people.
Yeah. Just because you stopped participating in sex doesn't mean you're not attracted and you're not still a homosexual, right?
Yeah.
And I don't.
Homosexuals probably are still homosexual.
Yeah. Conversion therapy, as far as I know, is a fail. It does not produce good results. It produces trauma responses, which, if you have trauma responses to being attracted to somebody, then yeah, I guess that you've overcome your homosexuality by giving yourself like stress and toxic triggers.
Yeah.
Let's see. Including celebrities, repetitive activities have a significant influence on one's sexuality, such as whether a male becomes a figure skater, pro-gay, or a basketball player. Virtually no gays. So stereotypes, right? Like
I'm desperate to look up like gay basketball players now. Like I want to know. That's true.
And even if there aren't any known gay basketball players, honey, there's gay basketball players. They just don't. They just decided it's none of your business. That's what they've.
What is inherently more straight about basketball than ice skating? It's very interesting.
For real, they make a big deal about these guys just jumping real high to dunk the basketball. Have they seen a figure skater jump and frickin' do spirals and twirls and twist in the air and land it? like on one leg, and
also one of those sports involves a big group of men getting sweaty and changing together in changing rooms, and one of them doesn't.
Yeah.
And I feel like they've got that the inverse way around. So,
yeah, and there's a lot of man-on-man contact in basketball.
more than figure skating. Yeah.
Yeah. There's actually more heterosexual. There's substantially more heterosexual contact in figure skating.
Yeah.
Because there's a whole section of it that's a man and a woman doing a routine. So that's definitely is it gay to touch ladies? Or females becoming a basketball player, pro lesbian, or a ballerina. Virtually no lesbians. Oh, I'm gonna say absolute bullshit. Isn't like the Black Swan movie? Isn't that specifically about lesbian ballerinas, or at least bisexual ballerinas?
Yeah, I feel like there's a citation needed here on some of these assumptions.
Yeah, and chess appears to deter homosexuality in both genders. Because there's only two, right? The two genders, which are
Black and white
ballerina
chess.
figure skaters and basketball players.
And basketball players, yeah.
Those are the two genders. And then they're acknowledging that the chess player might be. Is the chess player a third gender?
Maybe
So with the chess player added into there, we now have a bimodal gender spectrum.
Strange.
The world we live in today, Emma.
Very weird. It's weird how this particular group, I mean a lot of groups do, but this group especially really worships chess. I don't really know where that's come from.
It's like because it's supposed to be a symbol of intelligence, I think. I don't know. Or methodical thinking. How does chess deter you from being homosexual, though?
Because it takes up a lot of time, maybe? You've not got time to meet anyone.
Yeah.
You're too busy learning chess.
Yeah, I guess that being like really into any kind of hobby can do that to you. No, because like if you're into video games, they have the characters are too sexy. Oh my gosh, I bet there's an article on video games on here. We'll have to.
There must be.
We'll have to see what that has. What do we have here? So we have Peter Libera is the president of Americans for Truth, which is an organization for they counter the homosexual agenda. I want to read this quote by him because it's gross. If you're easily triggered by this bullshit, cover your ears for a second, because another factor from my experience as a close observer of the ex-gay phenomenon is that former homosexuals do not linger in reparative therapy programs or participate in them at all. They attribute their dramatic and relatively rapid transformation to the power of God and likely would not show up in a study of this kind. In fact, that these unstudied overcomers would appear to be the most successful ex-homosexuals because they've moved on with their lives as reborn Christians, moved on after overcoming any besetting sin. So what's
convenient.
What's so gross about this, is that they're saying, of course the data doesn't agree with us because our ex-homosexuals don't report on that because God already said that took the homosexuality away from them. Which what this says to me is actually that they think that they have 100% success rate with their conversion therapy because some of the people are like, don't come back after their first session. So
yeah, they assume it's because everybody is now too busy with God being godly.
when they like probe at them like, hey, why didn't you come back? They're like, oh yeah, worked like a charm. Thanks. Bye, and hang up.
Please leave me alone.
You get testimonies here from pastors and ex-lesbians.
If you need like a retirement plan is to, become an ex-homosexual or something and repent when you get older.
Do you know how successful I could be if I made a channel like, oh, ex-atheist here, found Jesus. Of course, I'd have to transition into a man in order to sell that.
Yeah, that would be pretty unfun.
Yeah, that wouldn't be fun for me. You could pull it off by going like super trad wife, and be like, you could do that and make.
I think I could stomach it for an April Fool's.
Yeah.
More than in the day.
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? There would be have to be screen grabs that you have to wear one of those collared shirts like what Shuon Head wears.
Yeah.
What else do we have here? Now I'm kind of interested in the video game thing. I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see if there's a.
Or at least most of the, especially religious conservatives I've looked at, hate video games.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
So we're pretty straightforward at the beginning, just given like a rudimentary definition. I mean, obviously, you got to have this line right here because chess is the conservative person's game. And
that's the game that's allowed. What about battle chess?
Battle chess,
but with guns. In theory, chess with guns is something they should be really into.
No, there's battle. It does have a list of games on here, and it's going to give us a little breakdown of them. But let's see, because we got things like sexuality and violence on here. Overcoming addiction to video games. It's basically like overcoming homosexuality, except for instead of other people of your same gender, it's Mario that you really into. Let's see, and there's some links. Everything on here is linked to atheism too. You'll know you can't go to any article where there's not a section where it's like atheism and obesity in the video game section.
There's a bunch of religious games as well. There's always been loads of like Bible games and stuff like that. I wonder if those are allowed.
I used to be like back in the early 2000s when YouTube was first starting. I used to be a fan of Angry Video Game Nerd, and he used to play Bible games at Christmas time, just for fun. And it was it was interesting. There's like Noah's Ark games and all kinds of stuff. Everything you would expect from a Bible games. There's difference. There's Joseph and Mary making their way to Bethlehem game where you got the camel and everything. You can go and play these games. You can probably find them on Steam. Some of these old Nintendo games from way back in the day. You like, I know that maybe there's probably modern games too, but I'm a retro gamer when it comes to gaming, so that's what comes to mind for me. Are there modern Christian video games, Emma?
Yeah, there's one being developed at the moment. The sort of most talked about one is called I Am Jesus Christ, which sounds blasphemous, but you kind of play Jesus's life and you fight Satan and you get miracle powers and stuff. I played the demo. I'm kind of psyched for the full release. It's terrible, but it's kind of
funny. Well, that's probably something you could like play and have a lot of fun with, right? I know that you were playing Lamb or Cult of Lamb.
Cult of Lamb, yeah.
Yes. Are you still playing that, or you put it on the shelf?
Yeah, no, I'm still playing it. I want to finish that one. I'm very dedicated to it.
So that's a Christian game, right? I mean, there's some Christian imagery in there.
You can make a Christian allegory out of it. Yeah, totally.
All right. Let's see. Arguments against the video game, and we know we're going to have... there's no way that they're not going to mention like Columbine and stuff in here, right? Because that's like Matt Powell's obsessed with Columbine. Like if you watch any of his content, he also really hates me, by the way. I don't know if you knew that or not, but
I think it's a great sign to be hated by Matt Powell. Yeah,
he put my picture up behind him while he was screaming about needing to execute drag queens. It's like, honey, I wish I had the style of a drag queen. I'm just a trans woman.
I got one time, I don't know why I always remember this, but one time I got a compliment on my eyebrows from a really amazing drag queen, and I was like, this is no compliment will ever compare. No,
Yeah,
this is-
right.
this is it.
Spot on. I have drag queens that in my DMs that help me with my makeup tips and stuff. I will tell you that right now. They are good people, but we're not the same demographic, and people seem to think that. I'm a different demographic than drag queens. But
well, Matt Powell only has a very simple mind and can only view the world in very simple terms. So.
Yeah, I wonder if he has an article on here. Video games have been accused of being linked to murders by young people and other violence, stress-induced health problems, including unexpected heart attacks, atheism, obesity, and sexual immorality. Sexual immorality is going to be anything other than like performing missionary sex to reproduce with your eyes closed. That's anything beyond that is sin. It's it's lust. So I'm definitely dealing with the atheism. I am from Conservapedia's point of view, they are right. I am dealing with atheism and what they would probably call
from video games.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's sexual immorality, and I do play video games, so I do check those boxes. Conservapedia,
Yes,
good
right.
on you. Several prominent murderers in recent years were inspired by video games. Young mass murderer Adam Lanza was immersed in a perverse video game world and killed himself to prevent law enforcement from taking his points. Oh, goodness. Wow. He plotted his rampage. So we're talking about different cases. I figured they would use Columbine as the case. I guess they're not. They want more recent cases, I suppose, which makes sense. They want it to be topical and up to date. So I'm getting Discord notifications. Let me close that. I didn't mean to leave that window open. I don't know if you guys could hear that out there in the live chat, but well, thank you, Aunt Jur. Aunt Jur said she likes my style. Appreciate you, hon. I like showing my shoulders off for you. Aunt Jur likes my shoulders. She says I lead people away from Christ with my shoulders.
Yeah, this is risky. You gotta hide the elbows.
Yeah.
That's the real modest way.
This is probably way too low cut. I almost wore a green sweater today too, and I'm not even kidding. It would have been fun. We would have been matching. But not that green. Mine looked more like a mossy green, but looks kind of like grass. Oh, right. Where was the section on video game usage and excess weight? Let me be straightforward here about video game addiction. That is a real thing that can happen, and it can be negative to your health and hygiene, to your social and mental health as well. So anything and everything in moderation. I'm not denying that video game. They call video game usage here is they say usage like it's heroin. That I'm not denying that there can be a problem, just like with pretty much anything else. But yeah, it also.
I watched some like life coach, super manly man guy talk about video games once and say if you got to stop playing video games and your life will be better. And it was basically that same thing. It was like equating just playing video games with like a really severe addiction, which probably very, very few people have. And it's like, yeah, addiction's really bad. But... Well,
that's like what they say of like with I'm going to say porn addiction, right? It's there are people that porn is if it's ethically sourced, there's nothing wrong with indulging in that. But yes, it can become problematic, but just like video games or anything else, in moderation, it's fine, and even to some degree healthy. In video games, the same way. If playing video games in your downtime helps keep your your motor skills and critical thinking skills sharp. It's obviously, and I don't disagree that maybe reading a book or something might be beneficial to you, but it doesn't mean that playing video games does not help with other parts of your brain.
Yeah, and we know that because they started this with chess games are good for your brain and help you be smart.
Yeah.
And you could easily become addicted to chess games too.
You know what? There's also chess video games. You can play video chess is like actually one of the oldest video games that you can play. You could they used to, even back before, they used to play chess by letter. You would just send your move via letter to the other person, and they'd move your pieces on their board at home, and you guys would play a game of chess across the country. So it's always been something that chess is a precursor to video games. Board games are the precursor to video games, and we've even played them over long distances with friends. So it's a normal part of how we socialize. And that's the great thing about video games today, too. Like, what me and Emma are doing here, just talking and reading articles together, is great. But it's phenomenal to be able to run around with your friend from the other side of the world and go on an adventure or take on a challenge together and bond that way. That's good for you.
Yeah. And like we've already mentioned, you can do that. And you can do that with like a religious game if you want to, or a game that doesn't have any violence, doesn't have any, the things that Conservapedia is against. It's like you could have a completely wholesome, religious themed video game life and be perfectly fine.
And most video games are secular. Like the majority of them are not violent. There are a sect of video games that are violent, but most of them are silly little adventure games and stuff where you're especially the free ones. So yeah, anyway, getting back to the article, overcoming addiction to video games. I wonder what the deal is. So it's Grand Theft Auto is why they're focusing on sexuality. Although nudity is not prominent in Western video games, there are various products containing sexually suggestive material.
Like Leisure Suit Larry.
Yeah. Leisure Suit Larry, that's old school.
Yeah.
Oh my, I had that on DOS.
That's a throwback.
You couldn't have even been born back then. Would you have like an old computer at home or it's your school or something that had a disc of it on?
No, I just a big nostalgia nerd.
Oh.
So I go backwards a lot for a lot of my gaming.
Yeah.
I started with like the PS1 myself.
Yeah, I started with the NES, so I'm a bit older. I was only 2 when the NES came out, but that was our first system, and I remember it. It was a great system. I used to hear me keep making references like Mario and side scrollers and stuff. That's because those are the games that I like because I'm a retro gamer, and it's because of nostalgia. Exactly. Oh. NPC. This is the thing that comes up in multiple articles. Is NPC internet meme. I read that somewhere else too. They're really proud of this meme and how well it did on the algorithm on the Google search. Let me read this for you because it's ridiculous. The NPC internet meme, derived from non-player character in video games, is a politically right-wing internet meme that represents liberals, leftists who do not think for themselves, lack critical thinking skills, and have been politically indoctrinated. According to the website Verge, last week the New York Times published a piece about an insular 4chan meme that had started to bleed over into political Twitter. All memes from 4chan bleed over into Twitter eventually if they take hold. That's just the algorithm. At the time, NPC, an acronym for the gaming term non-playable character, has been weaponized in an attempt to own the libs by calling them automatons. So like saying that anybody who's not right-leaning is basically a non-player character and is just following programmed code is what it's claiming. But it is still relatively niche meme. Very few outlets had touched. So it's like bragging about their 4chan meme And I don't
So amazing.
I don't doubt that the person who wrote this is from 4chan and is a 4chan poster that wrote this section of it. And they're like, you know what? When we talk about video games, we need to make sure to cover my dank meme. That
It's funny, and I wonder if the reason that they're so proud of this one meme is because most of these like hardcore conservative like right wings just make the worst memes and the least funny like reactions.
It's just like it's not a joke. It's just like a racist thing, a racist quote with a weird image of a frog or something. Or a homophobic or whatever. There's been a huge rise in the use of the NPC meme on the internet, as can be seen by this Google trend graph. So they went out and did the Google trend, like how often people are searching for the term NPC. As you can see, it's been a term that's been around since the dawn of social media on the internet. 2004 is about when social media really started with MySpace and stuff. So since then, calling people an NPC has been a way to insult people who you think are not actually contributing to what you're doing. And people can be NPCs in your life. The person at the gas station that takes your cash or petrol station that takes your cash is not active actor in your life. They are an NPC for all causes and purposes. It doesn't mean they're an NPC in their story. And I think that that calling other people NPC is just a result of main character syndrome, right?
That's exactly what I was gonna say, because and I've heard some like genuinely interesting discussions about the whole kind of NPC meme and stuff, and I think having a healthy sense of awareness that you are just sort of a passing figure in most people's lives and you're not the center of the universe is like better. Like being an NPC is like, yeah, that's fine. That's normal. If anything,
let me give you your quest and move on with my day.
Yeah, I'm just passing through here. I've got my lines of dialogue prepared if somebody talks to me on the street, and otherwise,
right. That's real. You are an NPC in most people's lives, and if you think you're not, it's because you have main character syndrome.
Exactly.
And you think that everybody else sees you as the main character too, and we don't. We're all the main character in our own stories, and we know that we are supporting characters in other people's stories and NPCs in most people's stories. We have preloaded lines. We have, like Emma said, we have preloaded quests that we give. If in your work environment, to most of your coworkers, you are an NPC that says, "Hey, here's the thing you needed," or "Hey, where's the thing I needed?" And you're giving each other quests. That's work. So just think of it that way. We're all NPCs. And they talk about Elon Musk here taking over Twitter this article's video games. And they're like, because the NPC meme, Elon Musk is taking over Twitter. Because this is the section about the NPC internet meme under the video games. And these are all the things that, the main factors.
So, like, if this was normal Wikipedia, this would have been removed for not being...
Yeah, I've been like, what does this have to do? No, your meme did not overturn the inner workings of the world, because, supporters of right-wing politics are now getting more active in the culture war issues, such as anti-woke backlash. NPC meme, that's what did it. The growing hunger for free speech and cancel culture, and dank NPC memes. Education and video games. That's what we were talking about earlier with some brain games. Chess, video chess. Are they going to talk bad about video chess? They're talking about Civilization. I did like Civilization back in the day. Yeah. Simulation games. I liked Age of Empire better than Civilization, though, just because I like it more freeform. But Microsoft Flight Simulator. So these are the games that they like are the ones that appealed to middle-aged men in the 90s.
100%.
Those are the only video games that were good. Which, build SimCity and Civilization and Microsoft Flight Simulator. So things like that are really vanilla games for... or I bet they would include, they got Oregon Trail on here. are you? Did you? I don't know if they played Oregon Trail over in the UK though. Did you guys play
No,
Oregon?
I've seen it on like American video gamers channels. That's how I'm aware of it.
Yeah. So I told you what generation I'm from. So I was the Oregon Trail generation, and it was fantastic to go to school. And they're like, you know what? Today we're gonna play video games. And even though it's the lamest, I mean, it's very vanilla, but there's parts of it where you have to hunt and cross rivers and make decisions and stuff. It was a fun game for people who at that time had only ever experienced video games at like an arcade. You didn't have some people probably had home consoles, but not everybody did. So yeah, it was cool to be able to do that at school. But yeah, it's one of the most prominent examples that they're using here. Now, faith in video games. Here's what you were talking about.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So, faith in video games has, as a rule, either led to the creation of new and dynamic antagonists or video games that are mediocre, such as
being honest.
Spiritual warfare and Bible adventures. Now, Bible adventures is the one I was talking about, where you got to be Noah. You had to go around and catch all the animals and put them in the ark. It didn't. I mean, the controls were a little wonky, but it looked fun.
I think the Bible game is the one that I am aware of.
Yeah, the Bible game for various systems. Bible Adventures is particularly infamous for its poor design and playability. It's the controls are weird, but that's not a flaw with the game. I think it's a flaw with the coding. It's not a flaw with the design of the game or the goal of the game and what they were going for. It's just you get people in a crunch to create a whole bunch of Bible games to put on this disc. Or I guess it wasn't it would have been a disc on computer. Anyway, I'm ranting. Okay, and then we have religion has, however, taken a prominent place among the various heroes and villains in video games. Mm-hmm. The Breath of Fire series and the Shin Megami Tensei games in particular use God as a main antagonist in many of its incarnations. You know what else uses God as the main antagonist? The freaking Bible. Your book presents him as the antagonist.
Yeah, this has made me think of my favorite game series of all times is Dragon Quest. And that has quite a positive, religion is just, the goddess is real and blah, blah, blah. And religion is how you like save your game and you go to church all the time and stuff. But in that, God is a woman. So they probably would still hate it anyway.
Yeah, it's if God's a woman, then she's the devil. She's not God.
Well, there you go.
Right, yeah. It's got to be... And... Yeah, any kind of pagan religion present, like you don't see anything. Is God of War even going to come up on here? Because I'd love to hear their. Let me see it.
Surprisingly, not. Donkey Kong is there, but no.
Guitar Hero. No God of War though. I wonder why they left that out. No Elder Scrolls. They got Mortal Kombat on here, multiplayer fighting game, which is famous for violence, blood, and gory finishing moves called fatalities.
It's weird that this just ends with a list of games, some games.
It's not even it's not even a comprehensive list, and there's no rhyme or reasons for which games they put on here.
Some games that they could think of while they were writing the article. Yeah. Why?
Let me see. Do any of these does it give anything? And none of the descriptions are anything to do with whether they're a good conservative game or whether they're a bad worldly game either.
Nope, doesn't even say.
Video game controversy. Maybe it'll tell us which games are bad here. So we got Mass Effect, Grand Theft Auto. Oh, there's Columbine. I knew it would be in here somewhere. That was Doom. I knew that they did Doom because those allegedly, I don't know, that they created a Doom map of their school and everything, and that was a really big deal. And it actually, as far as Doom sales go, I don't think that it was detrimental. I imagine it probably, just because of the nature of the game, probably didn't affect how it was received by the audience that it was directed at anyway. But it sure did piss off the fundies that this violent game was played by people who did violence. Even though this violent game was played by pretty much anybody with a computer at that time.
Yeah, and I mean, violent things have been done by people who read the Bible.
Yeah.
So I guess we should ban the Bible.
Violent things have been done because people read the Bible.
And in the Bible, and yeah.
Yeah, in the Bible for sure. Why isn't there a game where you have to go around and kill all the Amalekites? That'd be a Bible game. Yeah, let's wipe out the Amalekites per Yahweh's order. You just do you get to perform all the genocides from the Bible.
That would be great. You play as like God's hitman.
Yeah.
And you just sort of spin through time, taking out his enemies.
Yeah. Conquering the land of Canaan with Yahweh and friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you do it in Vice City, though, it's bad. You do it in Canaan, good. We got Mass Effect and Left Behind. There's other games that I would have put on here that have more cultural bend to them and demons and stuff that they don't even talk about. Where's Blizzard's Diablo series on here? That was loaded with demons and angels. That seems like something they'd want to talk about.
I would have thought so. Well, I'm sure there were other bigger controversies than... What's the controversy about Mass Effect?
Yeah, let's see. Before its release, Mass Effect was subject of many controversies at the hands of blogger Kevin McCulloch, who claimed the game was pornographic. Mass Effect's pornographic. Among his claims were such statements as Mass Effect can be customized to sodomize whatever, whomever, however the game player wishes, which was far.
I remember it.
Which Mass Effect did you download? I think you downloaded the wrong one.
Oh no, that's the porn parody Mass Effect. From the Flash site. You don't want that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's games that are, if you are into that kind of games, you can find them, but it's not mainstream Mass Effect games. No sodomy that I'm aware of.
Strange.
In truth, the game allowed the player character to form a romantic relationship with a computer-controlled character, and if the player so wished, then he could sleep with him, her, depending on the player's gender, before starting the final portion of the game. So you enter into a intimate relationship with another character in the game that may be of either gender as the problem, because you have the choice to engage with either gender. It is encouraging sodomy.
There's also races in Mass Effect that don't have gender, which is, I don't know how Conservapedia would handle that emotionally. So.
Oh, wow. I wish, so originally when I proposed this stream to Emma, I had planned to, because back in the olden days, I could come in here and edit things. But they have locked it out, so I can no longer do that. But I was going to do my damnedest to make Emma her own article, because I think that she can that we could have made a woke article about Emma and her woke agenda on her channel, but we are not able to do that, unfortunately.
Maybe one day.
Someday. I did send a application to be an editor to their administrator team, but I didn't hear anything back before this, so I'm not even going to worry about it. If I do at some point make an article for you, Emma, I will send it to you and you can show it on your stream. I will lambaste you as if I am a conservative and talk about how you're part of you're a radical feminist. Let's see, you what do? You bully the transformed wives and Abby Shapiro, or not Abby Shapiro, it's not Shapiro anymore, but Abby Roth and what are the two blonde girls? Oh my gosh, Girl Defined, yeah. They probably have an article on here too. But real quick before, because we are we are almost at an hour, and I didn't want to start winding down at all until we covered this topic. Woke.
The big one.
This was the one. Yeah, I'm like, hey, we have to talk about this, and sent this to her. So
I can't help but notice there's like a Nazi flag over there.
Yes, obviously, and yeah, we're gonna call they're just gonna be the nasties on here. So I don't want to. I mean, we're probably far enough in the stream that it doesn't matter. But let me read you just the first section here, and we'll move from there. But woke, adjective, woker or wokest. I don't know if anybody's ever used those terms.
True.
Informal alert to injustice and discrimination in society, especially racism. We need to stay angry and stay woke. Does being woke mean I have to agree with all other woke folks, with what all other woke folks say should be done about issues in the Black community? The West Coast has the wokest dudes, 1960. So they're basically talking about the origins of the term here, which is being aware of systematic racism in our current society and our current culture, and how we should deal with that. But to be woke stems from the Age of Enlightenment, when enlightened atheists rejected God, challenged the divine right of king, and started the calendar over again at year 1. When did we start the calendar over? Where's this new calendar at? When are we going to start using it?
That's not something that I was aware of.
Yeah.
I also wasn't aware that woke came from the Enlightenment.
No.
I don't know if I trust that to be true.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to the nasties here, just the next line. So, by the 1920s and 1930s, enlightened nasties regarded God and Jesus Christ as a Jewish conspiracy, and even Jews and Marxists did not believe in it. So I don't know about that, because there, at least early on, Nazi Party had the support of the Catholic Church when they took power. So I don't think that if they were presenting Jesus Christ as a Jewish conspiracy, that the Catholic Church would have stood behind them.
No.
While Hitler himself did not specifically adhere to a Christian position or a Catholic position, most of the Nazis in the Third Reich were Catholic. That was the primary religion of the people of Nazi Germany, not necessarily of the leaders, or not. And that's where I get into muddy water here, because Hitler was kind of wishy-washy about what he believed in. He had beliefs in, or he promoted beliefs in different sects depending on who he was talking to and how he presented it. He liked symbolism from old Germanic, Norse, not Norse. What's the culture I'm looking for here? The upper northern European cultures and their gods and things like that, and symbolism from that. But he did have certain ideas about Christian beliefs as well. And he presented those when he did his speeches. He talked about being God's chosen people and things like that. Mm-hmm. All right, so where was I? Woke knowledge is esoteric. For example, holding firm the maxim that religion is the opiate of the masses. So once a true believer casts off the opiates, they become woke or enlightened. David Greenfield describes it as a cultish term for political cults that reframes extremism as a revelation. So wokeism is, or being woke and aware of social injustice, is extremism. It's extreme to say, hey, minority groups are being oppressed in our society and we should do something about it. Just being aware of that and saying, hey, are we going to do anything about that, is extremism.
Yeah.
Because that's the beginning and end of wokeness, is saying, hey, there's injustice in our society. Do you think we should do something about it?
Yeah, that's extreme. As is becoming non-religious.
Yeah,
that's when you lose your mind and go crazy.
Yeah, you are no longer able to function in society, and you need to control everybody else and tell them what to say once you're woke.
Mm-hmm. That's what I do.
Right.
That's my woke agenda.
In modern America, leftists often use the term to refer to a person unquestioningly accepting a radical political doctrine viewing society in terms of white privilege. It's not just white privilege; it's also cis privilege and in male privilege. There's a few privileges out there. And you may have all of them. You may hold the whole deck, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that you specifically should feel bad about that. It means that you are the person that just needs to be aware of that, and that other people don't have that. That's all we want from you, is just to say, yeah, I have privileges. I'm white. So that's a privilege for me. I benefit from that when I drive down the street. For instance, law enforcement might look twice at a black lady driving down the street, but they're not going to look at me. And it would go up even more if I was a black man. Emma's got privileges, that she's a very protected class because she's a white female. They are the thing that this demographic want to protect the most. That's what they are all about. But they also don't want them to have a voice. They want them to be just people in glass cases that pass from hand to hand, from father to groom.
Very high level of privilege. If I happen to go missing, you're probably going to see my face on the wide news.
Mm-hmm.
And
they will look for you for decades.
Yeah, and then probably make a documentary about it, and it'll turn out I've been in the garden the whole time, just looking at some mushrooms. So.
Yeah, being we not just acknowledging that we have privileges that other people don't, and that other people might have privileges that we don't, is not a bad thing. It doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make you a bad person. If you have all the privileges, it doesn't make you a bad person if you have none of the privileges. This is about the way society treats people. That's what the problem is. They make this a personal thing, that an individual is woke. An individual is woke to the society, though. It's not. I don't know. This annoys me. I told Emma we'd probably go until we stop laughing and start crying, and this article might make me start crying.
This is where it starts to get frustrating. And unfortunately, preaching to this kind of person, because this is like the young, internet addicted sort of like
right-leaning
conspiracy theorist is not gonna. They're just gonna be like, well, you're woke, and therefore everything you say is something that I'm not going to listen to, and I'm not going to pretend to understand. It's like you're just crazy, and you hate men, and you hate white people, and you hate.
Yeah, and you probably have pronouns in your profile.
Oh. I do.
So woke.
So woke.
Let's see. To be woke is to be radically aware and justifiably paranoid. It is to be cognizant of the rot pervading the power structure. The woke manner shares Cool's rebel posture. What does that mean?
I don't know what that means.
But it is opposite of cool in certain respects. Cool was politically detached, but being a social activist is required for being woke. So it's telling us how woke is not cool, I guess.
I guess so.
I was gonna be woke, and now I'm like, well, it's not cool. So
yeah, I want to be cool.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. It's about status. That's what Andrew Tate says. Status.
True.
We got to do our status. Pulling indicates that cancel culture does not have much of a future. So let's be clear what cancel culture represents. Generally, and I'm not saying that it can't be used unfairly, but cancel culture is generally the free market of ideas. It's that, hey, we don't want your message on our platform. You're gone. The advertisers won't pay us to have you on here if you're going to be saying crap like that. That's what it is. It's capitalism. It's saying, hey, we want to make money off of our platform from our advertisers. Your controversial content is driving our advertisers away, so we're letting you go. That's what they call cancel culture. That's from everything from Gina Carano getting kicked from Disney, from The Mandalorian, to Donald Trump being removed from Twitter. If you're saying things that are going to make the advertiser, even if they're, I'm just saying, even if the things you're saying are true, if it makes the advertisers not want to be on your platform, you're not going to get to say it on that platform. They're going to update the terms of service to appease the advertisers, and you're going to have to adhere to those terms of service. That's cancel culture. End of story. Of course, cancel culture has a purpose because it's just self-regulating industry that they're saying, hey, we're going to have these rules in place. So get over the freaking cancel culture stuff. It's not anything new. It's just you're scared of it because social media is doing it now.
Yeah, like most things, it is deeply financially driven.
It's the same reason you can't, go out to the local market's parking lot and set up your own booth selling stuff. It's the same thing. They don't want you to drive their business away with your nonsense. Backlash against big tech firms engaging in cancel culture. This is talking about Elon taking over Facebook. Sure. There's the majority of these articles are going to contain Elon Musk stuff now, just about as often as they're going to share to include Trump stuff. Look, what do we have here, Emma?
Oh, the NPC internet meme. Hooray, my favorite meme's back.
Yeah, because this is in the woke article. So this...
Is that exactly the same?
Yes, it's copied and pasted. Somebody from 4chan is also an editor at Conservapedia, obviously, and is including the NPC internet meme in every section.
They're so proud. They're so proud of it.
Yes, it's the meme.
It's good to achieve something in life.
Mm-hmm. And if you can achieve meme status on Conservapedia, on look at all the searches they got for their meme. This is a meme lord. This is not like your average meme person. This person is.
Although this is, I will point out, that's just the people searching NPC.
Mm-hmm.
Which could be completely unrelated to the meme.
Yeah, it's just the term non-player character. Like somebody says, "Hey, that's an NPC." They're like, "What's an NPC?" And Google it.
Yeah.
What was I going to look at next? We got some categories here. 100 Americans the left hate the most.
David Horowitz.
Horowitz. Where's that at? There we go.
Top of the page there.
I
don't know anything about David Horowitz.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. David Horowitz is an ex-Marxist, and now conservative author and lecturer at college campuses. He was employed during the 1960s as a political aide to Bertrand Russell, as an editor of Ramparts, and one of the founders of the nonprofit organization David Horowitz Freedom Center. He now serves the editor of Front Page Magazine, a popular conservative online political magazine. I am actually going to... Is that going to take us... I'm going to look this up and see how they rate as far as their bias.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
Let's see. So we're going to do... Front Page Magazine.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Very, very right-leaning, like super right-leaning, in the dark red. So obviously you can expect top quality reporting. David Horowitz writing also often appears in Jewish World News and Newsmax. His criticism of Huey Newton's Black Panther Party is well known, as is his further criticism and self-criticism of radical leftism. Destructive Generations, 1989. So, when he got old, he became a boomer and started bitching about stuff.
Yeah, I guess that's it.
Who else do we have on this list? Mr. Alex Jones is on here. We got Ann Coulter.
Tucker Carlson, yeah.
Ben Carson. I don't know if there's our boy Ben.
Oh, of course.
Elon. Rudy Giuliani.
Junior's got his own page. Good for him.
Junior does?
Yeah.
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
Moving on up. Does Ivanka, though? Nope. No Ivanka.
I wouldn't know. She's a woman, so we don't.
Yeah, she doesn't. And Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, Candace Owens. Yep, the usual suspects out in here. Mm-hmm. And what's this article? Oh yeah, I looked up dinosaurs because this is funny. CreationScience asserts that the biblical account that dinosaurs were created on day 6 of the creation, approximately 6,000 years ago, alongside other land animals, and therefore coexisted with humans, thus debunking the theory of evolution. We're done. It's over. It's been debunked.
It's over. It's been disproven.
Yeah.
Because CreationScience asserts it.
Yeah. And the belief in evolutionary scientists about the age and creation of the earth. Done.
Yeah.
So the earth is, it's been, the theory of evolution is the only reason why we think the earth is old, right? It's just to hold up the theory of evolution.
Yeah.
So now that that's done, we don't have to pretend the earth is old anymore. Or round, I guess. Do we have to keep pretending it's round too, or do we?
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to go literally biblical.
Let's go all the way. Yeah. CreationScience posits that dinosaurs lived in harmony with other animals, probably including in the Garden of Eden, eating only plants. So, despite the hyper-carnivory appearance of theropod dinosaurs, they were actually using those sharp teeth to bite into melons.
Yeah, they just ate really spiky, thick-skinned plants.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, like pineapples and stuff like that. Sure, they needed the sharp, and sharp teeth are the best tool to do that too. Not a flat edge to cut into plants, but sharp pointed teeth for shearing. That pairs of each dinosaur kind were taken on Noah's Ark during the Great Flood and were preserved from drowning. That many of the fossilized dinosaur bones originated during the mass killing of the flood, and that possibly some descendants of those dinosaurs taken on the Ark are still around today. So living dinosaurs too. This is like, there's, how there's like Tyrannosauruses in the Congo, and
Yeah,
and of course,
I assumed we were talking about chickens, right? Little angry dinosaurs.
No, those are definitely little angry dinosaurs. And some people might say delicious angry dinosaurs. I am of the opinion that it's very possible that all the extinct dinosaurs were delicious, but we'll never know. So it's just safe to assume that they were delicious. Yeah. So there would have been like 300 dinosaurs on the Ark, or let's see, at least 300 distinct genre of dinosaurs have been identified. So there'd be.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of Ark space. I don't know.
But it's okay because the Ark encounter has it all worked out.
Yeah.
You go and see exactly how many species and how many creatures there were. It's all been solved.
Oh, well, I'm glad that that Ken Ham fixed that for us and explained, because they're to explain it to us. Yeah, and you see they do have baby dinosaurs on the Ark. And that's their answer is that, hey, we just took the babies.
Yeah, that's how they managed to squeeze them all in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, my question is like, gosh, how did Noah and his family clean up after all those thousands of animals? It's amazing.
Right, and carry enough food for them all, and
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just how many how many clades of like beetles, for instance, there are. Say there was only one beetle kind. Beetles make up about a quarter of the organisms on Earth, so there would have to have been several beetle species since Noah's Ark landed 4,000 years ago or whatever to today. There'd have to be several hundred beetle species produced every day in order for us to account for the number of species that we have on the planet, and they would still be going today to try to catch up.
Yeah, I'm sure Ken's thought about all of this. I'm sure he's thought that all through.
Yeah, well, so you got the Ark encounter. Now, Kent Hovind has his own theories about dinosaurs on the Ark too. He proposed that they were brought on the Ark as eggs. So, yeah, they're competing creationist opinions on that.
Yeah, well, Noah had a lot of time, famously, to get ready and sort of breed the various species that he needed to.
Yeah.
There wasn't like a rush or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't like there was floodwaters coming. He didn't manage to get the unicorns though, which is
Such a shame.
Yeah, I would like to have unicorns today. So, creation. This is the part I wanted to get to before. As well. Creation science rejects the Great Impact Theory and finds a number of faults in this theory. Despite these critiques, the Great Impact Theory is widely considered by the scientific community to be fact. However, those scientists cannot prove the Great Impact Theory definitively. Creation scientists point out that the evolutionists are frequently coming out with new theories to explain the supposed extinction of the dinosaurs, and that those theories are laden with false assumptions. I think we've had pretty much one theory for the last 50 years or so, right? The Chicxulub impact event, the big crater down by Mexico that spread this layer of iridium that defines the boundary between the Cretaceous age of the dinosaurs and then the modern era that we're living in. It's clear and concise. There's not multiple theories. Now, some dinosaurs did survive. Again, we have chicken today. We have all the birds survive that.
I think this is probably from the Matt Powell school of thought, where you take like an article that has, an interesting theory, and I'm thinking of the evolutionists think the dinosaurs farted themselves to death. So I think that might be the kind of theories that they're trying to think of.
Yeah. Oh, but he really harped on that one. He's really on the surfing monkey thing too, which is hilarious. But let's see. Creation science cites a number of reasons they believe dinosaurs have existed until relatively recent times. There have been a number of sightings of dinosaur-like creatures reported in the best public. And I don't know how much you know about my regular content. I do a segment on my regular show called CryptoCorner, where we explore claims about like dinosaurs in the Congo. The most recent one I did was just a couple weeks ago about a Tyrannosaurus Rex that lived in the Australian outback. Now,
Amazing.
There's a myriad of reasons why this can't be a thing that's actually happening. Megafauna leave not just literally, but also figuratively, a massive footprint on the ecology of an area. So, yeah, sightings be damned. What they're talking about with sightings here, just to clarify, is that it's indigenous people. Well, we'll get to it here. Yeah, thousands of people report seeing a dinosaur-like monster in 2 sightings around Sairam Lake in Xinjiang, according to Chinese publication China Today. locals in the Congo have reported a creature they called Mokolamimbi. Now, Mokolamimbi is literally Congolese people trolling missionaries, is what it is. They just send them out. They tell them, oh yeah, they show them pictures of dinosaurs and say, have you seen these? Like, oh yeah, go up the river about 14 miles and then trek this way through this swamp and you'll see one. just trolling them is what they're doing. And you can kind of see it because there used to be a show called Monster Quest where they would actually show these interviews with the people, and you can kind of see the way that they're that they're presenting this. They're like, I can't believe these missionaries believe this. Then they don't tell them other fantastical creatures too, but anything they show them on their little guidebook, any animals they show them, oh yeah, they got those and those and those. But yeah, is there really a biome of dinosaurs living deep in the Congo? No, there's no evidence for that whatsoever.
That's very good.
Yes. Let's see here. And creation science shows that the idea that birds are descendant from dinosaurs is not demonstrated by evidence, and that the dinosaur-bird connection is even disputed by some evolutionists. See, Emma, you were talking about chickens earlier. You didn't even know what you were talking about.
I'm so stupid. It's because I'm so woke.
The wokeness has ate your brain.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we have Conservapedia here to put us back on the right track, though.
Yeah, thank goodness for that.
With excellent scientists like Jonathan Sarfati, who quotes Alan Fiducia, who is actually a real paleontologist, right? And he is not. He has a very unpopular theory that theropods are not grouped with other dinosaurs, or not grouped with the dinosaurs. Right. He separates theropods off into their own group, which descended into birds, right? So we have ornithischians, which is like duck-billed dinosaurs, stegosaurs, and ankylosaurs, the ones with the club tails. That group, and then you have theropods, the two-legged, largely predatory dinosaurs. But the problem is you get this third group in there, which is the sauropods. For a long time, they thought sauropods and ornithischians were grouped together, but now they're thinking, hey, maybe looking at these the history of the evolution of these, maybe sauropods are grouped with theropods, right? So now, if what Fiducia's claim was, now sauropods wouldn't be dinosaurs either, and sauropods would just, if you go by that classifications. So long-necked dinosaurs and tyrannosaurs no longer being dinosaurs is not going to hold water. That's not going to stick, because the holotypes of most of dinosaurs in general are theropods. So you have to keep theropods in Dinosauria. Sorry about my science rant. Back to the article. Just that they'll always quote Alan Fiducia because the majority of people don't understand what he's proposing. He's not proposing that birds aren't dinosaurs. He's proposing that theropods aren't dinosaurs, which would mean that tyrannosaurs weren't dinosaurs. But he doesn't get that, or these people don't get that.
Yeah.
All right. I think we'll do one last article. I don't know if we want to do that one. That's kind of controversial. It's funny that the left-wing insurrection, they also call it Biden junta. It's basically in this reality, in Conservapedia reality, the insurrection was the election and inauguration of Joe Biden.
Right.
There's not even an article at all about their insurrection. What I had to do to find anything about that was go to the 2020 presidential election section and then come down here and find their Biden junta section and go down here to where there's the electoral college thing. And then we get a little section on the insurrection, which includes gyms, just real quick. And then, like I said, I'll let you pick an article. I just want to cover this little section here real quick. During the January 6th, 2021 joint session of Congress to certify the Electoral College ballots, while tens of thousands of peaceful protesters rallied in support of President Trump outside the Capitol. Chartered vans of Antifa were escorted by state police in black unmarked SUVs into the midst of the crowd. Capitol Police then removed barriers and waved the crowd into the Capitol steps. Antifa rioters proceeded to break windows on the U.S. Capitol building and storm the premise. There was Antifa who was doing that. Even though I watched it live, facial recognizing technology identified Antifa members, and yeah, that's questionable and was dubious at the time that this was reported. But this is like right afterwards that they're making these claims, and most of it's been debunked since. But they didn't update their article. Who had used disguises to infiltrate pro-Trump protest groups as storming the building. Twitter, in a flimsy attempt to cover for the Antifa thugs, falsely claimed that a side-by-side photo comparison of one of the infiltrators showed him at the Capitol in one photo. Where was I? Okay. And at a Black Lives Matters rally in June of 2019 in another photo, both of which show him with the same visually distinct tattoos. Okay, blah, blah, blah. The proceedings inside the House Senate chamber were halted, and a Trump supporter who followed the crowd into the Capitol building was summarily executed by Capitol Police. They're talking about Miss Ashley Babbitt here. She was a unfortunate woman who got indoctrinated into the MAGA movement, was deeply into the cult, the MAGA cult, and had participated in the raid on the Senate certification that was going on. And she's the one who tried to climb through the window and got shot by police. So she was the only one that was a Trump supporter, and she was misled by Antifa into the building. And none of those other people were actual Trump supporters.
No, Trump supporters were all protesting peacefully outside.
Peacefully outside. They wouldn't storm the Capitol, except for Ashley Babbitt, who was misled. And maybe, I guess, the guy with the horns, because we know he was definitely a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
So just a few select individuals. All right, now we're going to go back to the main page and let you pick one more article.
Okay.
Let's see.
Ooh, there's biblically scientific foreknowledge, which I'd be interested in.
Biblically scientific foreknowledge. That sounds awesome. Let's do it.
Foreknowledge is a fun word.
It's prophecy, don't you know? Biblically scientific foreknowledge consists of the Bible's many correct predictions of scientific breakthroughs. The Bible is a superb roadmap to future scientific discoveries. Unfortunately, Bible deniers, including many atheists and evolutionists, refuse to read the Bible, and their irrational closed-mindedness against the Bible obstructs the advancement of science. If you would just read your Bible, scientist, then you would know there's a firmament up there, and we'd stop trying to explore space and all this stuff. Just wasting our resources. Okay, the book of Genesis gives an example of anesthesia long before man discovered it in 1846. I press X to doubt. In the underlying chaos of uncertainty is the physical world was explained in the Bible long before quantum mechanics confirmed it in the 1900s. Oh goodness, let's see. So we got we got lots of claims here, and there's a lot of sections. This is a robust article. Actually, look at all the sections it has. Healthcare practices, history.
Oh, like blood clotting on the 8th day. Yeah. That is now fundamental to modern medicine.
Yeah, that's
What? Huh?
Genesis. Yeah, blood clotting on the 8th day, Genesis 17:12, right? God mandated that Abraham circumcise his son on the 8th day after birth. In 1935, it was discovered that vitamin K, together with prothrombin, causes blood coagulation important in any surgical procedure. On the 8th day, the amount of prothrombin present is elevated above 100% of the normal, and therefore the only day in that male's life in which this will be the case normally. So, the Bible nailed it. That's when you're supposed to mutilate your baby's genitals, is on the 8th day. Genital mutilation is abhorrent in all regards. And I say this as an American who was subjected to it myself. So it's not a fair thing to do to children. It doesn't matter what day after their birth you do it on. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Lifespans. The Bible puts the maximum lifespan for man at 120 years. The typical lifespan at 70 years, and the typical for good living person at 80 years. Thousands of years.
Depends on when in the Bible, right? People were living to like.
Yeah, Methuselah was.
Yeah.
Adam lived like 400 years.
And they were having kids at like 80 and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like when Abraham was pimping out his wife as his sister, she was in her 80s.
Yeah.
She must have been super hot though, because the king was thirsty for that 80-year-old woman.
Weird.
So right here they disprove their maximum lifespan by talking about Jeanne Calment, who lived to be 122. So she exceeded the 120 limit. So the Bible's been proven wrong. I guess we can throw that out now.
Yeah, weird. I like that that's the only sentence. There's no sort of talk about that. It's just like, somebody beat that maximum lifespan that we said a minute ago.
So, yeah.
Move on.
Moving along. Check this one out, though. The oldest human ancestor. The Bible suggests that the oldest maternal ancestor is Eve. First lived slightly more than 6,000 years ago. The mutation rate of mitochondria indicates roughly the same date for the most recent common ancestor of man. This is talking about the bottleneck in our ancestry with mitochondrial Eve. The fun thing about mitochondrial Eve is she had a mother. She had a father. So,
yeah.
How's that work?
That's a little awkward.
Oh, goodness. Homosexuality and disease. Oh, my. The Bible's prohibition against homosexuality predates knowledge about many diseases and disorders associated with homosexuality, and thus shows scientific wisdom present for its time.
That's a Kent Hovind line.
Yeah.
That was why they kept massacring all those people. It's because they knew that they were gays and they had the gay diseases.
The gay diseases. Ew. And it's not that these diseases are not associated with who you're attracted to and who you're in love with. Certain diseases are more prone to arise in the population depending on what sort of sexual activities you engage in, whether you're cis, straight, or homosexual, bisexual. None of these diseases are homosexual diseases, and anybody can get them if they are engaging in specific types of sexual proclivities. I won't go into any more details about that and make this an X-rated stream, but yeah, adults doing adult things is how that happens. Not anything to do with being gay. Eyesight. The description in the Gospel of Mark for the sensation when one's eyesight is restored, including the perception of trees walking. The perception was first confirmed nearly 2,000 years later as a physician developed medical techniques to restore eyesight. I don't even know what they're talking about, trees walking. Are you familiar with this?
No, I need to look that up because Trees walking?
It's from your favorite gospel.
Yeah, I know. I obviously didn't put as much importance on it as this writer did.
I want to read what that gospel says, though. Let me see.
Because I presume that's Jesus healing the person's eyesight.
Is this going to be... This is more Conservapedia. I thought it would link us to, like, Bible Hub or something. What was the verse? 8:24. We're on 8. Where's 8? There it is. 8:24.
I'm googling it and I'm seeing a lot of stuff about the Bible. I'm not seeing any science.
Let's see. And he looked up and said, I see men and trees walking. The man looked up and declared, I only see men who look like walking trees. Okay. The truth of this description is... So I'm thinking that probably this is saying that there were Ents in biblical time.
Maybe.
The March of the Ents, maybe. Yeah, this is this in the citation is the same thing that we're getting here. Like, oh, this proves that they knew science. Hygiene. I think, didn't Jesus tell people not to wash their hands? Isn't that one of the things that he was...
Well, it's a fun thing to joke about. It was more about sort of like not being beholden to Jewish traditions. But he does like pop off when somebody says, aren't you going to wash your hands? But it's because of the tradition aspect, not because of anything else. But it is funny. The Bible doesn't say like, wash your hands or you'll get germs. Imagine if the Bible did teach us about germs. Like what a different path history might have taken.
Oh, yeah. Jesus curbed the compulsive hand washing by explaining why it is no longer typically necessary. Okay, yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, and thank you for explaining that. I wasn't super familiar with how that part of the gospel played out. So, let's see, fetal alcohol syndrome. How did the angel of the Lord appeared and to her and said, "You are barren and childless, but you are going to become pregnant and give birth to a son. Now see to it that you drink no wine or other fermented drink, and that you do not eat anything unclean." So it doesn't surprise me that by this point in history that we would have picked up on the notion that excessive alcohol use during pregnancy would tended to lead towards birth defects in the child. I don't think that that's a surprise to me. There was...
I mean, it's just trial and error at that point, isn't it?
Yeah, and there was a lot of innovations that come to us from the ancient Near East that we still adhere to today. There were a lot of smart people writing stuff back then. I mean, back then that was the only place where people were writing stuff. So,
I think it's important to mention as well that unclean, like it sounds good written there, like, oh, don't eat anything unclean or whatever. But unclean was like more of a religious law. Like what was clean and unclean wasn't like the things that will be healthiest for you and your baby. It was like adhering to these. It's about worshiping God correctly. Like that's not. It wasn't like the angel was advocating for eating healthy. It wasn't like a cleansed diet.
Yeah, I mean, and they talk about unclean here too. Like it's talking about with the deadly coronavirus, right? It's likely originated from eating unclean animals. Bats and rats, and they're going to make that claim that we knew again what animals were, and there is something to be said about some of the like not eating pork. There could have been some trial and error because pork is definitely more prone to give people worms and things like that because our unfortunately, our digestive tract and everything about us are very similar to a pig's because we have a similar diet. So the same kind of gut parasites can take hold in us as they can in pigs. So eating undercooked pork, it'll almost always result in you're gambling with your life there with parasites. So there and that would have been due to trial and error of people eating pork and having negative health effects. And they say, oh, you know what? Maybe God doesn't want us to eat this because we keep getting sick. Same with shellfish. Shellfish can, especially if they're undercooked, can carry parasites. beef can carry parasites too, but it's not as common. And the parasites that they carry don't tend to thrive as well in our systems as pigs do. Let's see. What else do we got here? Awareness while unborn. Embalming. Describes an embalming. They were embalming way before the Bible, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
We got some cosmology here. Planet formation. Theories of an old universe insist that planet formation did not occur until long after the origins of the universe, contrary to the book of Genesis. It was not until 2012 that atheistic scientists recognized and reported that planets formed at the dawn of the universe within a small fraction of the universe's age. But not our planet, no. There were planets that were forming early on in the universe, but not ours. Those solar systems have come and gone, and lots of solar systems have come and gone. Ours is pretty old, though, all things considered. The Milky Way itself is fairly old. It has some galaxy or some parts of the galaxies, still popping.
I thought it was only 6,000 years old.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what it says right here, 6,000 years old. So, I mean, who are you going to listen to? Me or the Trustworthy Encyclopedia? Because they put Trustworthy Encyclopedia right at the top in case you start having doubts. You can just scroll up and see that.
Yeah.
So the Earth is free floating in space, but it's also a flat plane. The book of Job states that God hangs the earth on nothing. It also contracts with Greek mythology's belief that Atlas holds up the earth. Hindu and Native American myths that the earth was on top of a giant turtle. But aren't there passages that say the earth's on pillars in the Bible?
Yeah.
So I think giant turtle's cooler than pillars. Pillars is kind of lame.
I think that's pretty neat, to be honest.
Let's just turtles all the way down. That's great. That's the idea. All right. Let's see. Here's some physics. Infinite entropy. According to Genesis 1:2, the earth came into existence in an utterly formless and empty state. In 2004, physicists at the University of Chicago solved the long-standing dilemma about the ever-increasing entropy of the universe by postulating that there has always been infinite I don't know why he wanted to say infantry, like a military unit. I guess maybe because they have infinite entropy, and I'm squeezing them together. Infantry.
Yeah.
Or from the very beginning, which Genesis explained.
Genesis didn't explain nothing.
There's no infinite in Genesis.
There was nothing, and then there was the earth. That's not the same.
No. And I do adhere to it, to what I think what we observe would be an infinite model of, and people complain about infinite regress, but it's changing form the whole time, so it's not. Anyhow, that the Bible says there's a beginning. That's not what our scientific model says. There's no beginning. There's the Big Bang, which is not the beginning of existence. That's just the beginning of our current state of our universe, and then and the galaxies within it. Does not say what was before that or that was the beginning of everything. Now, time by like a B theory adherence would be attached to that. So even saying before time is nonsensical because time expands with space and matter. And I think the theory of relativity has proven that it's tangential to that matter manipulates time, that gravitational forces have an effect on time. Mm-hmm. So time is relative in the Big Bang. And that's why in most creation models, that it's a theory of time where time is separate, but we've proven that's not true. Our models, Einstein proved that that's not true. Anyway.
Yeah, I think in Genesis the days existed before time was a thing.
Yeah.
Which I don't.
So God just sat there like super bored the whole time, right? Oh, let's see. second law of thermodynamics, they're going to misunderstand that. The book of Genesis states that the darkness or chaos in the universe can never overcome the light or order. And the same concept was not discovered in physics until the development of the second law of thermodynamics. The second law of thermodynamics does not say what you think it means, or what you think it says, which holds that heat or order or light always travels in the direction of cold or disorder and darkness, and never in the opposite direction. I am promising you, friend, that the second law of thermodynamics does not say anything about order, and does not say anything about darkness.
Even if they happened to be correct about, even if like sometimes science happens to line up with something, if that was intentional by God, like he really did it in a freaking roundabout way, extremely vague, unhelpful. Like what it doesn't help us to give us a vague sentiment that might hint at the second law of thermodynamics in thousands of years. What? Why would he do that? What's the purpose?
Yeah, it seems counterintuitive, right? And that's the problem is that's why, because religion can't change. They have to be stuck in their doctrine, right? It's written down. It cannot change. So as we move forward, they have to they can't change what it says. They have to change how they understand it or what they try to understand it. And it's like, I guess they get to a certain point and they're like, you know what? No more changing. I'm just going to start denying the science at this point. New discoveries don't count anymore. And it takes generations before. Yeah, and I have a physicist in my side chat, by the way. Dr. Tapioca Weasel is a physicist out there, and yeah, they have said this is an impressively wrong take on the second law of thermodynamics, and that's saying something. Yeah, because this is like extra wrong. They're tacking on some silliness to it. And Beck and Godsey, just be cordial. We don't all have to always get along. Just treat each other decently. I don't mind some discourse in the side chat. Just it's everybody to be cool. I don't want to have to start pulling wrenches and things like that. Sorry. Chat maintenance.
I get it. I stream. I understand.
Yeah. Sociology. Trolls. The existence of malicious trolls on the internet is difficult to understand. Is it though? Have they met people?
Not if you've read Matthew.
Yeah. Yeah. The parable of wheat and chaff. Do you know that one?
The wheat and the chaff?
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's. How does that relate to should I get my Bible? Shall I quickly have a look? Because I'm not sure if I can find a way to relate this to trolls.
Okay.
I'll have a quick go.
Matthew, and we got a mark one down here for sociology and crime. I just don't understand how the parable of the wheat from the chaff would
relate to, here's Matthew, here's our boy. What do you have? I'm sure it'll become very clear.
It'll be evident once you find it. You'll be like, well, duh.
Yeah, so the day Jesus went out and sat by the sea, crowds gathered around him, he got in a boat and sat down. He told them many things in parables. A sower went out to sow. As he sowed, some seeds fell along the path, and the birds came and devoured them. As the seeds fell on the rocky ground, or they did not have much soil, and immediately they sprang up, since they had no depth of soil. But when the sun rose, they were scorched. And since they had no root, they withered away. Other seeds fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked them. Other seeds fell on good soil and produced grain, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears, let him hear.
What? I don't see the correlation.
Okay. Yeah.
Are
Okay,
the
so
thorns
it's the weeds. It's
the weeds and thorns
it's somebody coming
choking?
along and sowing weeds among the wheat.
Okay.
How does it have weeds? Blah blah blah. An enemy has done this. Do you want us to go and gather them? No, lest in gathering the weeds you root up the wheat along with them. Let them grow together. And at harvest time, I will tell the reapers, gather the weeds first and bind them in bundles. Gather the wheat into my barn. I mean, it's a. I guess you could make that be about internet trolls. Let the internet trolls exist, because if we get rid of the internet trolls, then we get rid of the good people on the internet.
Oh, it's free speech. Okay, yeah.
I don't really know. I'm not quite sure. I don't feel like that does relate very easily to internet trolls, but maybe I just don't understand.
Oh, yeah. Let's finish out with some zoology. Want to? How giant sea creatures of Jonah. The book of Jonah describes the survival in the belly of a giant sea creature for 2.5 to 3 days. Scientists declare this to be impossible due to powerful stomach acid that quickly breaks down any material and the lack of breathable air inside marine animals. In 2010, scientists found the following material intact in the belly of a gray whale that had died and been stranded on a northwest beach. A pair of sweatpants, a golf ball, over 20 plastic bags, small towels, duct tape, surgical gloves. Of course, many sea creatures have gone extinct in the thousands of years since Jonah died. So this is none of these things would have the same requirements to survive in a whale's stomach as a person would.
Yeah, it's like a scientist said that couldn't happen because people need oxygen to breathe. But there was a pair of sweatpants in a whale that washed up once.
Where sweatpants can survive, so too can humankind. This is terrible.
I think this is just a sign that you shouldn't litter in the ocean.
Yeah, I was going to say this is good evidence for how awful we're treating ocean life and why microplastics and plastics and whatnot should be regulated. But no, not a good example of why we should think that people can survive inside a whale's body. So, gender of worker ants. I talked about this because I did a response to Kent Hovind's Making Babies video about ants. That this verse that they knew that the worker ants were female, right? So I posit that you live a pastoral life. You tend your crops. You have you follow your goats around, your sheep around the countryside. You spend a lot of time sitting in the grass where there's bugs. Turn over a rock and you can watch. There's no TV. They didn't even have books, but back at this time. So turn over a rock. You could pick up a lot about ant society just by spending a couple hours while you're tending your flock and while you're taking a rest. Turn over a rock and watching a colony of ants. It's not going to take long to figure out who's the who and what's the what after doing that for some time and passing that knowledge on to your kids. Like, hey, while we're tuning the sheep, check these ants out and teaching them about that. People did that back then just like they do now. Each one of my kids, there's been some point in time where I said, hey, let's go turn over a rock and lay in the grass and watch the ants. It's a normal thing to do. And you can learn a lot about their culture that way.
Yeah.
The scientific consensus in the Encyclopedia Britannica both indicate that snakes can't hear. The Bible said snakes can hear. 21st century scientists show that snakes can hear. So snakes can't hear, not in the way that you think they hear. They pick up vibrations through the ground. There's not an ear. That's what snakes' bodies are always against a surface. So they hear through objects that they're laying on. They don't hear ambience through the air. So I'll give them a half point on that because it's kind of right.
It kind of needs an update, I feel. If not deleting, it needs an update.
Yeah. Vegetarian lion. I've also done a video on this. If you hadn't watched it, if anybody in the audience hasn't seen it, it's in my catalog about this vegetarian lion. This poor cat little tyke that that lived on a vegetarian diet. Only lived a couple of years. Was very malnourished and scrawny looking. Even though they have quotes of people saying how super healthy little tyke was, images of the animal do tend to paint a different picture of his life. All right. I think that's a good place to wrap things up for the day. I have had just a fantastic time going through these articles with you and getting to see your response. Sorry I talk so much. I'm used to being on.
It's good. It's fascinating, although I despair a little bit about humanity, but it's okay.
Yes, there's a lot to soak in here when it comes to Conservapedia, and we didn't even scratch the surface. We just kind of had to jump around and give you all some samples. This stuff does go deep, and there's articles that I even had saved that we just didn't even get a chance to get to about some different wild conservative views on the world. It's very conspiracy driven. Emma, what is your takeaway from Conservapedia?
It definitely reads as quite young people who have heard things and maybe don't have the critical research skills to fully understand those things, and want to impress. Some of it was written really strangely, like it was like a person sort of talking to themselves in a way. My takeaway is just a wish that I have had for a long time, which is that we taught like critical research skills in school. I think conspiracy believing and writing weird stuff on wikis like this would be way down if people learned how to identify good and bad sources early on.
This is a good example, a good thing to pull up when people are talking about bad sources and good sources. A good example of that, to be able to say, yeah, this is what biased media looks like compared to neutral media. The problem is that they're going to call neutral media left-wing media because it comports with reality. There's a lot of conspiracy here, a lot of indoctrination, and a lot of, you can clearly see that these people have at least a little bit of an isolationist mindset to differentiate themselves from the rest of the world. They want to have their own media and their own worldview. Yeah, and I actually have a young Earth creationist and a friend of mine in the chat too. Paleo Logos is a young Earth creationist, and yeah, they're on the same page as we are when it comes to things like the nonsense of Conservapedia. So this isn't even a mainstream for that demographic. This is fringe for that demographic. This is they call it Conservapedia, but it's really like MAGApedia.
And we didn't very Trump-centric.
Yeah, and we didn't even get to Mike Pence. I was telling Emma that I was reading it before, and that Mike Pence's article went from praising him as this great Christian leader to, by the time you got down to the bottom of the article, he was a traitor, a false Christian. He confirmed the 2020 election. He needs to be hung and all that nasty stuff. So it's weird to see that shift go through the article. I really do appreciate you coming on, though. I've been trying to get more guests on to do stuff like this, and I'm thankful that you were free for it.
Well, thank you for having me. I've had a lovely time, but the content has been mildly disturbing.
Yeah. Do you have anything coming up you want to shout out to my audience who may not follow you?
No, not really. Just if you want to follow me, you can, and then when things are coming up, you'll see them.
Yeah, she just did a response to Classically Abby. Was that yesterday at release? So that one was a fun one. I watched that last night. That's
a spicy one.
She gets a little fussy there. But look at her hair, right?
Yeah.
She's talking about just is a whole "do as I say, not as I do" kind of message that you get from these women in conservative circles. But I appreciate again you coming on. I had a great time. Thank you to all the audience out there. We still got 30 people watching, so that's pretty good. Pretty good turnout for my little channel. I am so close to to 1,000. It's annoying me. I got 845 right now. So yes, please, if you aren't subscribed, yeah.
Sorry, that was rubbish.
Just hit the subscribe button and we will get there, and I can finally get my super chats and stuff, and I would love that, to be able to highlight some of you guys and what you have to say. But please subscribe to Emma as well, even though she's a very successful young YouTuber and a model for us all to keep putting our message out there. So thank you for using your voice to spread a positive message, Miss Emma. I always love your content. You are stupid woke, so that is what we want. We need to keep our woke agenda, keep our eye on the prize. You see the images of the future that atheists want, the future that the left wants. It's Emma.
Yeah, that's me.
Yes. All right. So please remember to be kind, take care, and we will see you next time. Thank you.
Bye.